So welcome. And on behalf of the Coalition for Career Development Center, I want to welcome to this conference, its first virtual conference, Transforming Career Readiness into Action. You know, the CCD is really all about collaboration. We're focused on identifying solutions, strategies that will prepare all individuals for the career pathway of their choice. Our goal is to bring together the vision, thinking, and best practices of individuals and organizations from around the country. And we are thrilled with the group that we have here for today and tomorrow. Between our board of directors, our advisory council, and the key contributors that have been supporting the organization, we've been able to begin this journey, and you are going to help us move forward on this. We have an exciting program put together. I think the program we have put together is to help us identify those strategies and tactics, which will help us move along the roadmap. And so we have exciting speakers here, but the success of this conference is actually going to depend on all of you. We need your input, your dialogue, your vision, your thinking, your ideas. If you disagree, I mean, all of that. This is a collaborative. This isn't just about a group making those decisions. So that's why this conference is really a really strong start for us. To officially open this conference, it's my pleasure to introduce Leo Reddy, who is chair of the Coalition for Career Development Center. Leo has been involved with the coalition from the beginning. He also serves as the chairman of the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council, has a very impressive background, but it's his passion and his vision that really got us going and has kept us going. And so we're very appreciative of all the time and effort that Leo has put into this. And it's my pleasure now to turn it over to Leo for his opening of the conference. Leo?
Well, thank you very much, Jan. I hope I have better luck than you had with the technology, but really welcome everybody. Join you and welcome everybody. I'm here a little bit in my official capacity. The board has kind of formally asked that this conference try to further refine the policies, research agenda, and activity and communications activity of the coalition to get ready for our third summit, which is scheduled now for the fall. We're working on the final date, but sometime probably in October. We'll announce that date fairly shortly. But the main purpose of our meeting today is to get the whole coalition together to deliberate on where we really want to go looking into the future. And so we're very excited to have this available. To help prepare kind of a background, a context for our meeting, I took the time to write a kind of a progress report going back to the origins of this organizations really go back to about the year 2014. It goes back quite a while. And we've been building a roadmap for many, many years to trying to achieve our goal of making career readiness the first priority of American education. That's a fairly large mouthful when you think about our job is to build a national consensus around that purpose. It's not an unambitious purpose. But if we succeed, the results for the country will be quite impressive, I think. So in any case, what I first wanted to do was just spend a little bit of time talking about just reminding ourselves of our purpose and our vision. And then going on to a little bit of a paradigm for the roadmap that we've been building, the student roadmap, basically, for career success. And then I want to spend a little bit more time just expressing our thanks from the board and the leadership of the organization for the many organizations and wonderful individuals who have helped us get as far as we can. So with that, maybe I could go to the purpose and vision. I have a slide for this, Spencer. How's our technology? There it is. Oh, good. It's coming up. That's wonderful. Well, you've seen this before, but I thought it really was worth repeating that our purpose, again, as I just said, is to really build a national consensus around making career readiness for all. I have to underline all. We mean every single student. And we don't really care if they're going to college or career college. All these old nomenclatures really don't apply. We're talking about everybody. To paraphrase Jan's wonderful image, after all, 99% of people in school have to get a job, right? So get them into that job is the job they want is our main preoccupation. But to go there, our vision, which we've refined over the years, is, again, I think it's worth repeating. We believe that providing all learners with high quality I like the word high quality for our organization. We try to do everything against the standards of high quality. High quality career development services and technology will help ensure that they secure productive employment in their chosen career pathway as efficiently and as cost effectively as possible. This will better meet the needs of employers for a skilled workforce, elevate the dignity of all work, and help more young people achieve the American dream. That's the statement of our purpose and vision in our white paper, which I certainly commend to everybody. If you're going to work with CCD, you have to have a copy of the white paper on your shelf, which is readily available. You can read it before you go to sleep at night. They call it Career Readiness for All. It's really kind of our roadmap, which we've been building for a number of years now. And based on that roadmap, we've kind of described a little bit of a paradigm. If we could have one more slide here, Spencer, if you wouldn't mind, is what I'm calling the CCD career pathway paradigm. And basically, we think we should start even in the early grades to expand career awareness by getting more kids out into the workplace, having workplace people visit the kids and getting them to have a better understanding there are careers, the kinds of careers that are out there. Then in middle school, begin to develop what we're calling a personalized career and academic plan, sometimes called an individual learning plan. There are names for it, but basically every student would have their own personalized plan focused on self and career exploration. In other words, this is not a European tracking system. You kind of track yourself, if I can use that word, tracking. You choose your career pathway. But to help you do that, you're going to be aided by well-trained professional career advisors and counselors who will help you on your way to develop that plan, which will further refine in grades 9, 10. To the point by grade 11 and 12, you can then begin to seek an internship in your chosen career pathway. And I do want to underline the important condition we put on this, namely employer funded. We're very pleased that employers seem to be coming to the plate more and more in terms of their contract with American society. Business Roundtable has provided a new vision for that, and many companies have already provided that way. I mean, we've been working with Toyota for years. IBM, many other companies have been doing this, but we really would like to see a situation where employers are funding these summer internships for every student, which will be to everybody's advantage. In post-secondary, people would begin employment, if that's what their career pathway indicates. They're ready when they finish high school to go right into to their careers, that's fine. Or they can secure a high quality national industry certification or a degree in their chosen career pathway. That's kind of the paradigm that we've been thinking about. And I just would ask you to reflect a little bit on the benefits of this. If we actually achieve this, this is kind of our vision. But where will we? What will be our point in time if we actually? Where will we be at a certain point in time if this actually happens? The benefits for this are pretty well defined in the white paper. But in brief, students will be incentivized to remain in school and not drop out because they'll have a goal. They can see their pathway ahead of them. They'll see the relevance of their studies, which is a problem sometimes if you're sitting in a school room. The relevance of their studies to their own futures, and will reduce college debt by concentrating their studies at the post-secondary level on their career pathway. They'll be able to reduce their time and income spent in college and secure financial independence earlier. Be family starters, pay taxes, be financially contributing at a much earlier age. And so our good friend Scott Bull, who's played such an important role, keeps talking about a fair deal for America's youth. I think we can talk about this one being a great deal for America's youth. Well worth pursuing. If we pursue this, of course, there'll be a lot of residual benefits for the economy. Will certainly help reduce the acute shortage of higher skilled workers that are holding back our company today, which we're all aware of. Anybody certainly in manufacturing is well aware of this problem. Increasing workforce productivity and enhancing our global economic competitiveness. We're in a world now where the China challenge keeps getting stronger and stronger. We have to be well prepared to respond to that. So I think this vision and our pathway for getting there are well defined, and we just have to do the necessary groundwork to make sure it actually happens in practice. But as I said at the beginning, I really want to thank so many different organizations and people. They're detailed in greater detail in the paper I circulated earlier, but I just feel a real obligation that we all feel to the help we received from so many. And just going back, let me go back to Jan for just a minute. Jan really started us off with a report we wrote in 2014, 2015 on transforming career counseling. And if you go back and read that now, you find many of the different solutions that we've identified really appear in that paper. Then Jan organized a meeting to preview that paper at the Willard in Washington, D.C., and that's there we met Bill Simons from the Global Pathways Institute and the Venerable Dr. Solberg at that meeting. That began to kind of form a career group. And as we kept going, we had assistance in our early convenings and 2 summits from many organizations. The National Governors Association has played a very important role in facilitating. The Chamber of Commerce Foundation, the Business Roundtable, the Manufacturing Institute, which is the education research arm of the National Association of Manufacturers, has played an important role. If you look at our website and you see the 17 members of our board and the 37 members who are a quite powerful advisory council, this is quite a powerful organization. With many of the country's leading organizations, we're really grateful to all of them. Also, I should add that in the work of our individual committees, we've enjoyed the participation of Microsoft and Google and Amazon have also joined in the work, which we're very grateful for. Many friends in the education community have helped us. And there's a fairly long list of those, but I particularly want to call out the Association with Career Tech Ed and Advanced CTE. They have been wonderful in representing the interests of the CTE community, so helpful. And it's just been very important to have them. In the counseling world, we've worked very closely with the National Career Development Association and now with the American School Counselors Association are in the organization working with us as well. And I also want to mention the support we received from American Student Assistance and Junior Achievement and so forth. And in our work on the, of course, in the actual research work, American Student Assistance again has chipped in, CASEL has chipped in. There are many organizations that have, but I do also want to, if I had my placard with all the different logos of organizations, I really want to highlight, very importantly, our contributors. It's very hard to sustain an organization like this and build a staff, and Jan is building an excellent staff. And thanks to all of them, without cash contributors, people are contributing to our overhead, our day-to-day operations. And we do have several organizations that help with this. Certainly the National Council for Construction Education Research, NCCR, a venerable organization representing that large sector. They've been there from the very beginning. And I want to express a special thanks to them. SME has been with us from the very beginning. PACE Industries has made large contributions, very, very helpful. We've had excellent contributions from Amatrol, ACT, Gateway Technical College. Brian, thank you very much. And more recently from Snap-on Inc., and we saw Roger briefly, the Palmer Foundation. Penny is with us today representing the Palmer Foundation and NC3. So in any case, with that kind of a team, I don't see how we can miss. So we're very anxious to pull together the results of this whole conversation the next 2 days and then begin to address our preparations for the summit. So with those opening remarks, again, I want to thank you for coming, and I really look forward to the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leo. Oh, there we go again. So I'll do this quickly. I don't know why it's reverberating, but thank you. And Leo's leadership has been astronomical, and we would not have gotten here without Leo. And I do want to, I think he's on, recognize, I know Leo did as well, Bill Simons, who really took us to a long ways on this journey as well. So we've had some strong voices and strong leadership as we move forward on this, which is excellent. So we want to begin the program. As you all have seen, we have a very information intensive program. It's designed to bring some strong experienced voices to the table and then take advantage of what you have. So our first panel, we're very fortunate, is on, preparing, how do we transform education to prepare students to move into the workplace. And moderating this panel is the Center's VP of Research, Scott Solberg, who is a professor of counseling, psychology, and applied human development at Boston University. I don't think there's anybody that has more information and knows more about career counseling and what's happening in that field than Dr. Scott Solberg. So Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce your panel and to move this forward.
All right, well, thank you so much. And while Spencer, while you get the slide deck going, I just want to thank Leo and Jan for the tremendous leadership. And as you said, acknowledging Bill Simons and the foundation work that was done before us. But also just want to thank this great board that we have that's here, and we have our advisory council that is here. We have state leaders. It's really, and we have other business leaders and national organizations. This is a tremendous effort, and to have everyone in the same room in conversation around this work is really truly inspiring. So we're going to be talking about, we're going to have a conversation, and my hope is that we're going to ask a few questions, and the chat box is already lively. I think you've seen one of my key supports, and is also working with us at the center, is Robin Koyer-Kubicek, who's cheerleading in that chat box, and she's a really key figure in the work we're doing. You'll hear from her tomorrow when we come back to talk about our some of the research we're doing. But I just want to encourage you to use that chat box for questions, because we want to get to the audience and have this a dialogue as opposed to a lecture kind of format. So you see, we've got some great individuals. I'm so excited to present with Jill Cook, who I don't know that you and I have ever been on a panel together, so I'm really excited about this. School counseling is such a big part of this whole process. So is the CTE world, and we've got some great leadership here, on the call today around that. So is social emotional learning, and we've got people from Castle as well. And the three of those together, we think, is a really strong combination for really redesigning education. We've got Mark Perna, who's going to be talking about some of his experience around what really makes, how do we get youth engaged. Roger, I'm going to try to pronounce, I'm not even going to try Roger. I didn't get enough practice, and I apologize for the last name. It's awesome when you say it. So I'll let you introduce yourself when each of them will, as they go forward. But we know certifications are important, so we're going to talk about that as a key issue. And then I have Damien Sweeney coming in to really talk about, for a state leader who's really engaged in putting all this together, working across all these systems. And so excited to have Damien talking about this. I've been watching Kentucky grow when he first got started in this, and it's amazing what great work a state can do when you've got great leadership. So yeah, now we're ready. We can go to the next slide.
Can you move it? Make sure.
We're going to need to mute everybody. So Spencer, are you okay? We're going to go back. We're going to go up a little bit. There we go. Oh, next slide. There you go. Okay. So you saw this was in our program. So we're going to be hitting on a few really redesign ideas. So you can get the next slide for time. I want to give a little orientation, and then we'll go into it. And the orientation really starts with, what are we preparing our youth for? And I think we have to revision what we're trying to do within education, within our community organizations, workforce development, that there is a whole set of skill sets that are well beyond anything any of us had to know when we graduated. And so we use the Fourth Industrial Revolution as a great commentary to just put it in a place of what that means. Next slide, Spencer. And for us, what it means is, let's go on. So we know it's all about this, the computers are coming, the computers are coming. They're here, they've arrived, and now they're taking over. Next slide. The idea here is that it's going to all be around talent, not around course grades, by the way. It's going to be around talent. And so let's hit the next slide. What we're really talking about here is, does the individual, is our youth developing the deep human skills that computers can't replace, right? When you're working at work, you're working in teams, you're working with people from different backgrounds, different communication, different personalities. Are we bringing a team together that can do that deeper communication skills? So we talk about Castle's great work on social emotional learning, but now we're taking it up a notch to more advanced social emotional learning skills. And that's important because we want our educators to know they're already doing the great work. They're building the foundation. We just have to help us all see that we're a team working towards this. And then the other area, and this is where Leo comes in, and all of you that are focusing on certification, there are advanced technical skills we need too. And so, but what we want to be able to do is to help youth identify what skills are needed that align with their future goals. So it's not taking away, it's just letting youth kind of start driving the process. And that's what we mean by career management. How are we helping youth and families really understand the processes involved? Next slide. So what do deep human skills look like? And I'm going to go to the next slide. We're going to look at Castle's piece here, that they've got some tremendous pieces. They're working on social emotional learning skills right now in the elementary. They're working with states. They're building capacity for them to do this work. And at the elementary, it's important to build a classroom with youth who can regulate themselves. You know, we don't need them hitting each other. We need them communicating, working collaboratively. But then as they shift into middle school age, this becomes the foundation for mental health. And so, and I think, Jill, you would attest to this as well, that we have counselors, or we have the kind of the therapists often in the building that do the therapy part. But what we have school counselors helping to do is set the foundation for mental health, because there's a lot of tier 1, which means all youth are getting access to programs and services. And this is what I'm excited to have Jill on to talk through, is that we've got a great national model that says, hey, mental health isn't just therapy. Mental health is, how are you functioning, and how can we prepare them with that? And then the second one, or the third one, is it turns out these are the same skills we need to be effective in the world of work. If you hit the next slide, what Castle's done to me is revolutionary for us. They've taken the same language and now put it into, go ahead, Spencer, with the next slide. And they put it into the language that we can use in our everyday work. I sat my daughter down and said, build your resume. I'm going to leave the room, find yourself here. And she took out all of these different skills, and within 10 minutes had her functional resume pretty well done. So this is really exciting, that we can help the educators realize, and this is where school counseling can play that strong role, that while you're doing these great project-based learning, you're also building the skills needed for them to be successful in the world of work. So it's just tying these things together. So next slide. And this is another way, this is a great individual. And when we find Leo, when we get some robust money coming in, we need to invite this woman, Crystal Lim Lang, out to be a keynote, because she is amazing. She's from Singapore, and she's so powerful, and she talks our talk, but she does it in such a great, empowering way. And these are some of the things she brings in. And I'm loving personal brand. I'm using that now in all of my work as well. Do you have talent? What's the brand statement? How are you communicating out what this talent is that you have, and things like that? Next one. There we go. Next slide. Is there one more? Spencer, is that the last one? That may be. Nope, there's a couple more. So the only other ones I was going to talk about is the technology skills. And there are some really, really good skill sets that are coming out of Burning Glass, where they're doing the analysis of what employers, not what employers are saying they want, what are the job ads saying they want. And so it's really nice to get down to that concrete place. And then the final thing we're needing is career management skills. And I was going to hopefully show you this beautiful sunflower from Kansas. I'm showing it off all the time, and I know we've got some Kansas people on today, so they know I've been showing it off. It's beautiful. They're in the contest for the best graphic in CTE ever. But what it does is it says, hey, we have to help youth and families realize they've got to learn how to move across from the K-12 system into post-secondary and into the careers that they're interested in. And it's not just going to be given. We've got to help them do this. And I know Leo has done a great job in helping lead the idea of helping us become aware of what kinds of certifications, what quality certifications look like as part of that process. So I'll go ahead and end there. You can go ahead and take off the slide deck, Spencer. And then if you're able to pin our key individuals, that would be great. We're going to start with Jill. So Jill, while Spencer's getting that taken care of, what I wanted to ask you about, I mean, school counseling has got a whole new national model. There's, and you've been revising it. It's getting better and better. And in Massachusetts, we keep trying to build our own off of yours. And every year you've got us creating a new team to continue to edit. So we're busy at work. But It's awesome. And, you know, as someone who trains school counselors at Boston University, I am so excited at the direction we're going. And I just wanted everyone to have a chance to hear from you. You know, what is this role that they're playing? How is it that they're critically important to the design, you know, and development of that whole career readiness portion? And so take it away.
As a truck honks very loudly outside my window the second you call on me, but that is life these days. Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to represent the school counseling profession, and thanks for all the love and shout outs along the way this morning. I could not agree more that school counselors are critical to this work. And you referenced the ASCA national model, and we are in our 4th iteration of this document. But essentially, over the last 20 years, the school counseling profession has shifted, has changed from being ancillary and reactionary, just working with a few students, maybe just working with the students going on to higher education. School counselors today, K-12, work with all students in a school on academic development, the very important social emotional development, and also the career development piece. And with that, we've also shifted in terms of our thinking about what post-secondary means for all students. And it's not just higher education.
Roger, we're turning to you now, and this is this is the big issue as well, which is how can we help our youth, right, really connect with employers and get that kind of hands-on training, not just because we're trying to help them get skills, but we're also trying to help them explore more deeply, learn that they do have talent, learn that they do things they'd like to do and may not like to do. It's a whole experience. But I think we also have to be remembering that we have a lot of youth of color and a lot of youth that have not been participating culturally. They've just been pushed out of the system. So I'm also hoping you can talk a little bit about what educators can do, but how can we support educators in really becoming more culturally aware, perhaps, so that they're really going after these talented youth in rural and urban settings. But just there's just so many out there we want to get attracted to. So I'll let you take it away. I don't know how you're going to answer, Roger. This feels to me like a loaded question I gave you, so it's a tough one. We're all trying to understand. Oh, you're on mute, Roger. You're the first today, but not the last.
There we go. So thank you, Scott. Roger Tadajewski, Executive Director for the National Coalition of Certification Centers, otherwise known as NC3. Excited to be here, Scott. Thank you. And to Leo and the whole CCD team, what a great day to kick this off. And it's great pleasure to be on this with, of course, Mark, Perna, and Jill. I like what you had to say. There's some things we'll touch on here, and looking forward to Damien as well from Kentucky But National Coalition of Certification Centers, first and foremost, was put together by community college presidents and CTE directors across the country that we're looking for a way to start to really truly identify and how we can implement and engage true industry recognized, industry developed certifications that not only bring those certifications to the students, but make sure that these are certifications that help them get a job, they're competency based. And most importantly, how do we help those instructors, those teachers that are in front of those students every day, 180 plus days a year, our counselors and so forth from K through 12 into community college. The second bucket of that is how do we truly engage with global technology industry leaders that bring new technology into the marketplace globally every day, and how do those, whether they're legacy skill sets, the fundamentals of math and how they're applied in everyday life to new technologies and the industry 4.0, and how does that all kind of come together so that it can be delivered and engaged at the high school, middle school level with our teachers. That's who NC3 is. We bring all those pieces together. We operate in all 50 states. But to answer your question, Scott, look, we are doing phenomenal things with our industry partners and our educators. For example, for young students, math teachers, science teachers, counselors, et cetera, be able to, when they're teaching math, whether it's in 3rd or 4th grade, to be able to pick up a micrometer or a caliper and understand what that measurement means, whether they're going into the engineering field, a technical field, they may not even know, but they're getting that career exploration of here's what the math teacher is teaching, but now they get to self-actualize. They get to touch something, they get to really measure, whether that's in standard or metric, and they bring those pieces together and they have that aha moment, that understanding of the why and how that applies to what their interests are and what their passion might be, as Mark said, on that given day or in that given moment, that, wow, this is something's of interest to me. We do that in, areas that touch across, if you take measurement, cuts across medical industries, everything's got a measurement to it. Everything's got a blueprint to it. All the way to the understanding of physics and the hydraulics, pneumatics, and so forth. And then also on the teacher instructor side is really truly connecting them with industry so that they have the opportunity. What we do is to connect with industry so they get that firsthand knowledge. They can carry that information into the classroom and have those great discovery awareness conversations with students, with counselors, to where the opportunities for young people are. We got a lot of CEOs in this country and around the world that all started, some started in construction trades, some started doing, mechanical work, a lot of ways that they have grown their careers and everyone with them. There's probably many of our people on this group today that have been engaged in some form on how America was built. So coming back to our counselors and to our youth is what are those things that we can provide in each of our schools every day? And then you touched on the underserved population. So one of the things in the DNA of NC3 is that we provide certifications to every student in that classroom, regardless of their social economic background. So what does that mean is there is no cost to these certifications for those students in those classrooms. So we deliver those, and now what that does is allows a school district, a state, or that individual teacher to engage with those students, help drive their passion, what their interests are for those days, and the curriculum and the materials are all there, and we continue to grow that. So in areas of IT, aviation, soft skills is a new piece that we've engaged with some of our industry partners to just help young people learn about work ethic and what those things are in a very positive way, that when they're working in those groups, as Scott, as you showed on your original slides, that teamwork, what does that really mean? Yes, we need to get them around a table and discuss, but then there's that next point of where they're actually collaborating, doing things together. That's where we also want to work on those activities as well too, and help that instructor in the classroom. So our professional development for those instructors that go through the training, they're able to issue these certifications again to every student. We are working in a lot of underserved communities and more to come. We've got just a tremendous roadmap in front of us that we are engaging more and more school districts across the country, rural, underserved, and across America. So I'll kind of stop there, but we are actively driving this. We have well over, I think, 140, 150 certifications that address this piece of lifelong skill sets, how it relates to our new Industry 4.0, our legacy key things that are needed, whether it's reading blueprints, understanding blueprints, the English, the math, all those things that need to come together. And most importantly, one of the things we're excited with CCD is reaching out to the counselors and helping be an asset and a resource to them. So at that local level, they have the resources to be able to talk to parents, grandparents, community to engage. So
fantastic. Thank you, Roger. So really such an exciting panel from the standpoint that with Jill, we have a national organization that's really putting together the guidelines for a whole army of educators and school counseling to really get into this. Mark, really, we need more help in supporting the organizations in being able to really understand the nature of what we're talking about so they can adopt and really implement with fidelity. And I see a lot of your work is really inspiring that. And then Roger, we need the CTE world coming in and really thinking through how to get to the actual certification, because we need that endpoint, right? But if they're graduating with some kind of credential, we're hopefully, if we've done our job right, they can go right into a livable wage, and that gives them more options as they think about their post-secondary. So really key pieces. It's exciting to have you, Damien, talk next, because now you're on the state leader end, and so you represent, by the way, a whole bunch of state leaders on the call. So I don't want to make you nervous, but we're so excited to have you talk. But there's a whole bunch here that are on the call, and it's a great family that we have, right, Damien? We've been working together now for many years, and there's just a really good sense of understanding about what it means to create this whole individualized learning plan, or what we call personal career and academic plans, as a process. And at the state leader, your job is to kind of help districts fully understand and give them the resources to support them in implementing. So really excited if you could kind of talk a little bit about how you're doing this. What have you done so far? What are the things that are happening as you see the work helping students become future ready? So take it away.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm really excited about being part of this panel. So my name is Damien Sweeney. I'm the program coordinator for comprehensive school counseling at the Kentucky Department of Education, where I work as a resource for school counselors in our state. In regards to today's topic, I also provide information regarding our regulation on graduation requirements in Kentucky. The ILP is part of this regulation because it helps align personalized student courses to post-secondary goals. So in Kentucky, we use individual learning plans for kids in grades 6 to 8. And we went from a one-size-fits-all prescribed system to a flexible one that gives schools and districts the autonomy to create or purchase a system that best fits the needs of their students. As you can imagine, that one-size-fits-all system actually fit the needs of very few schools and districts. And to be honest, the ILP became much more of a checkbox than something that truly helped our kids. So as we reimagined the ILP process in Kentucky, teaching the whole child through an advisement program has been paramount in our process. And with this new system, we wanted to think outside of the box. So one message we consistently shared was that social and emotional learning should play a huge part in whatever system or platform our schools and districts chose to utilize. All educators know that kids can't know where they are going until they discover who they are. It's a really important line for us to communicate consistently. Kids can't know where they are going until they discover who they are. So because of this, in Kentucky, we want our students to participate in lessons that will offer them information about mental health, personal and social goals, character building, self-advocacy, academic progress, careers, transition readiness, and so much more. And the cool part is that we want all of these lessons to be engaging and fun. So I'm going to give you an example of how we broaden the conversation about careers to make the conversations happening in the classroom feel personal and relevant. So I'm from the largest city in Kentucky, and I worked in an urban setting for years. 11 days after coming to the Kentucky Department of Education, I was tasked with offering my first professional learning opportunity to superintendents, principals, school counselors, and central office staffs in one of our regional educational cooperatives. So I know you said we've got a lot of state leaders on the call. So imagine 11 days after you get there, they're like, now we need you to get in front of all of these district and school leaders and communicate about this. So remember, while I come from an urban area, it is often the case that the places I'm traveling are not urban, but rather rural. So in those sessions, I was playing hip hop songs like 1-800 by Logic or You Just Gotta Live by Tadajewski. And both songs speak about suicide prevention. My goal was to show educators how we can offer lessons that were engaging, fun, and innovative, and that would speak to students while really allowing them to reflect on their own lives. My participants, they loved it. We know that music is a universal language that we can all relate to regardless of our backgrounds. And so when thinking about careers, I want you to really think about how can you be super creative? How can you innovate? Find ways to speak to your students in a language or with activities that will speak to them and allow them to enjoy opportunities for deeper learning. I originally had a Google Classroom full of lessons. I can give you the code if you're interested. And I had lessons that I chose to add to it that would help students self-discover while considering the support they needed academically, socially, and emotionally, and with careers. So that's where my school counseling background came in. This was the first iteration of lessons we provided for educators in Kentucky so they'd see how out of the box we could go with ILPs. Later, we created a self-implementation rubric based on the law governing ILPs in our state. The law specifically says a district shall implement an advising and guidance process throughout the middle and high school years to provide support for the development and implementation of an ILP for each student. So because of this, we created the rubric I mentioned to ensure that schools were implementing ILPs based on the law while innovating. We also added an ILP data center that showed districts how we'd be collecting data over time. We all know that what gets measured gets done. So we needed to show them that this was something that had to be done, but we didn't want to communicate that, big KDE was going to come in their black suits and black sunglasses and earpiece to watch everything that you're doing with this, in regards to this process. We care so much more about this being helpful than just coming down on schools. So next, we created ILP playbooks that connect to social and emotional learning and our essential workplace ethics law, which promote characteristics that are critical to success in the workplace. As I mentioned earlier, Kentucky law says that the ILP must be implemented for kids in grades 6 through 12, but we know it's important for elementary school kids to be able to have access to thinking about careers, right? So we created lessons for kids in grades 5 through 12, and we tied these lessons to Erik Erikson's stages of psychosocial development as well. So we're lucky that in Kentucky, we have this longitudinal data system called Kentucky Stats that offers current labor market information for each region of our state. It'll also let our students and educators know what careers will be prevalent in each region in the future, along with so much more. So that's a little bit about our journey, but with all of this said, our students are engaged in ILPs that don't just match them to careers. They're self-discovering, they're thinking about their futures while considering questions like, who am I? Who do I want to be as a person? What do I want in a future career? Is that option going to be available and close to home if I choose to stay? And then what certifications, credentials, trainings, or colleges must I attend to attain my future goals? Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Damien. Okay, so this is great. We've got a couple of questions that have come in the chat, and Jill, I thought you and I could have a conversation to kind of get this kicked off. I'm looking, Karen, from Delaware, about her question around, how do we help youth really connect to so many careers? And I wanted to just preface this by saying we need to circle back to the critical foundational role that CTE is playing in all of this. That with advanced CTE putting together these 16 career clusters, if you could put my slide back up, Spencer, that would be great. That there are so many, there's just too many. There's no single individual that knows the careers that are out there. And so we have to rely on these career information systems that you heard a little bit that were being discussed. And I saw we had someone from one of the career information systems. I was actually going to call him to ask him I was going to call him out to say, how many careers do we have access to? It's in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. One more down. Nope, keep going. Keep going, keep going. There it is. Oh, missed it. There it is. So this is the slide I said we're going to put up for the prize. And I know we've got our Kansas colleagues on here, Natalie and Stacy. So really proud of this. But this is right. So Jill, we have to have this somewhere, because without this, it's impossible for helping families, youth. And we also had Shauna coming out with the question of how do we even get our teachers to understand the range that's out there, right? So maybe you could talk a little bit about that, and there may be some others that want to put in the chat some additional information as well.
No, I absolutely appreciate that. And you're right, school counselors nor any one person can know all the options that are available for students. And so it's a matter of knowing how to access that information in all the beautiful variety of ways that are available. I have to say that the most frequent groups that reach out to ASCA to wanting to connect with school counselors are those that are career related in some way. We heard about whether it's specific career areas like aviation, or we have the Prosthetics Association who reaches out to us, or whether it's those companies that have those platforms for school staff and students to access and to do those self-assessments and I love, Damien, what you said about kids can't know where they're going until they know who they are. All that self-assessment piece. So hopefully knowing that your school or your district has a tool for you to use to work with students and families to access this information. And, you know, as we know, it changes all the time. It changes every day.
Yeah.
But I will say another thing that school counselors do, and that is connecting with those local businesses and groups that are right there in their communities for students to connect with, whether it's through those internships or apprenticeships, or those opportunities that are available, but knowing what those career options are at this moment in time in your own community, your own town. And one of my favorite things, that I heard during the pandemic when schools were virtual, was that they were doing a lot of virtual tours. A high school in Wisconsin, where they were doing virtual tours of the businesses in their community, and it gave the students more opportunities to see what was out there than if they were trying to arrange the in-person tours. So lots of ways, and it's all about connections and having the tools available.
So Shauna, we just answered your question, I think, from Superior, Wisconsin. Yeah, get down to Sheboygan. That, you know, you all really.
Sheboygan.
Sheboygan, yeah. Wisconsin innovated this whole need to get out there and do it virtually, and it went through the state. So I think the rural centers have been able to do that. We could talk more about. There are lots of rural applications to this, and I think you're seeing some people throw some things in there. But I want to go back to Amy. Had a question or a point that I wanted to make, Jill, and I know you agree with. But when we do the personalized career and academic plans, we see it as a team sport. It's school counseling, it's CTE, and also special ed, right? This is, and Kentucky was one of the first to put into law that transition plan for our youth with disabilities has to be engaged with that personalized career and academic plan, or else you can't put it into the transition plan. That was some of the best legalese I've ever seen. But this idea that it's a team sport means that we're building off of each other's strengths. And I think what Amy was saying is in some states, the CTE is leading this personalized career plan. It's not in the area of school counseling. It's really where it goes is really critical. I think, Damien, one of the things I liked about what you brought out, which is critical, is that it's got to happen in these advisory periods. And I know we've had advisory and they didn't work, but when you've got MyCat or the personalized career and academic plans, it now works. You have structure, you have engagement, and you have that caring, encouraging adult who's leading and facilitating the process. That's really exciting. Natalie's put some things down for you all, getting a lot of great kudos and shout outs for this beautiful cluster. I was glad to see Lauren, because, you know, we used to talk about Colorado's great graphic designer, and everyone was jealous at how Colorado could put all this together. And then Kansas came in. It's like, wow. Yeah. But I think it really, oh, I'm sorry, Damien, were you gonna jump in?
Oh, this is Roger. I was gonna say,
yeah,
Kansas is doing phenomenal stuff in their rural schools. We are actively engaged a lot of it. And a little bit of shout back out to Wisconsin. We originally got started with some of these things in Wisconsin in the rural schools. You know, our partners Snap-on and Brian Albrecht really helped do some things. And then, you know, Kansas, and we're also Tennessee. We got a lot of states that are, as we speak, even through the pandemic, have just been doing phenomenal work to reach out to students and instructors, even during the pandemic. If they were teaching from their kitchen and the students were in the living room, you know, wherever, they were doing things. And so it's really exciting as we roll into the 21-22 school year, the amount of great things that are happening out there. And we're seeing it because as we do our train-the-trainers with all of our instructors, that has almost tripled just in the first quarter. So this Kansas is doing phenomenal, great work.
Yep. And I think, just to get back to your point, Karen, you're right. Not all students are in CTE, which is why it's so important that we have the personalized career and academic plan, right? Yes. And in your state, you've got the student success plan. The foundation for being able to explore is coming through the CTE, but it's all embedded within these online career information systems. And we can't really do this work at scale without the 16 career clusters, without the ability to break this crazy world into these little chunks, which is what these systems have done. So that's what we mean by it being at the foundation. We're not saying that we're not in any way saying every child should be in CTE. Career development is the larger set, and CTE is one element of it. But the design qualities that advanced CTE and ACT have done to really help us think through this is fantastic. So when you see this type of sunflower, it begs the question, how do I get there? And that's where Roger comes in and says, states are doing is they're saying, well, here's the academic courses, here's the early college courses you might take, and then at the end of that, here's the way you can get some kind of industry recognized. What we want is to not just think about them as CTE pathways, we just want to use the word pathways, right? We just want to say, what is your pathway? Where are you going? And Mark talked about this before, right? There's this light at the end of the tunnel. That's what we have. And then we have to figure out how to navigate towards that light. And what are the learning opportunities, whether CTE or not, can help them move into that. All right, I just paused because it said I was a little unstable, which everyone who works with me. Okay, so with that being said, I know we've got some time left, so love to. I don't have the chat in front of me, or I do have it in front of me. Here it is. Some other points if you want. You're seeing a lot of the great state leaders are throwing down questions and resources and ideas, which is just what happens because they're fabulous. And also the state leaders share all this out. So what Damien's sharing is stuff that's open for other state leaders to learn from. Kansas, Colorado, we've mentioned, Wisconsin. There's all these states. We got North Carolina, South Carolina, Alaska is here on the call today. We got so many great states that are doing really exciting work. So really excited to see that. But are there some other questions that we didn't get to yet that we want to ask before I take over and ask some other deeper questions?
Scott, can I throw out something that just rose to my head as we were talking a little bit ago, and I didn't mention it early on, was the notion, not just specifically about CTE, but just that, you know, there's so many opportunities for students, and absolutely higher education for your college degree is important, and there are many jobs that require this. But as we think about really the destigmatization of CTE and maybe other pathways that maybe some families hadn't thought about, some students hadn't thought about. And so one of the projects we worked with Advanced CTE on was a piece for specifically school counselors on how to have those destigmatization conversations, and how we can really shift about how we think about what our world needs today in terms of a workforce. And certainly it might be part of it, but it's just so much broader than that. And there are so many beautiful opportunities. So you know, school counselors can help facilitate those conversations, but again, just really thinking about that shift with everyone involved in supporting students.
So Mark, maybe you can jump into this. I want to cue it up though, but yeah, I think this would be really exciting to hear your perspective on it. But one of the things I've been selling is that it's not about the CTE program, it's about the transferable skills you're developing. And how do those transferable skills relate to where you want to go? Again, that light at the end, are you establishing that kind of future goal? So Mark, take it away in terms of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to jump in there anyway, too. I couldn't agree more with Jill, but I think what is necessary is we need a systemic shifting of the paradigm. So what I find as I'm working with states and I'm working with organizations across America is that there is far too much segmentation between education out there. Every piece of education says they're the best piece of education. So if you talk to universities say, we're to be successful, you got to come here. Community and technical colleges say, you got to come here. Academic says you got to be an academic expert, right? As CTE says, we've got to be the best. And the truth is we have to shift the paradigm where everybody's on the same side of the table. And we've got to stop fighting for niches, and we have to start fighting for students. And in fighting for students, we've got to share a very powerful narrative that in order to shift the paradigm with students, with parents, with community members, legislators, our business and industry partnerships, is we've got to tell a very powerful story about how we move students from static purpose to active purpose, help them see that there's a myriad of wonderful on-ramps, that there is not one, there are many. I've been telling organizations for a long time, and I do over 80 keynote speeches a year, and I've been saying that it matters less where you start after high school. It really only matters where you end up. Because you can start in a myriad of places. There's a young woman I use in my speeches all the time. She was a sophomore at Davenport West High School in downtown Davenport, Iowa. And she was a 4.0 student, straight A's, in band, in chorus, singing in a rock band on the weekends. Her sophomore year, middle sophomore year, came to register for classes for junior year, and she decided to take a welding class. So she took the first, she took the second, she took the third, capstone, got all her certifications. She decided after high school she was going to go to work at John Deere as a welder. Now, how many of us know someone who would have tried to talk an impressive young female 4.0 student out of taking a welding class, right? That doesn't seem to make sense, you know, in our current systemic thinking. And so she took it. She worked there for 12 months when she took John Deere up on what they offered every student, or every employee, excuse me, is that if you've worked at John Deere for 12 months, they will now pay 2/3 of your higher education. It was at that moment she went back and got a 4-year degree in business. John Deere paid for 2/3 of it. She paid the other third pretty easily. Why? Because she makes great money. She's a welder. So now she's gone from an hourly worker to a salaried worker. She's working her way into a fast track management program at John Deere. She's now working to develop and bring other apprenticeships from high school into John Deere's apprenticeship program so that they can connect the dots. She found an unconventional way to get where she wanted to go, have someone else pay for most of it. And now at the age of 24, when I met her, you know, her story was she'd been at 24 years old. She had been at John Deere for 5 years. She has robust academic knowledge, technical competencies, professional skills, and she's on a track to one day, my guess is manage a 2.2 million square foot facility for John Deere. Tell me that that's not wildly successful. So the shift in the paradigm that has to take place across the country is that it matters less where you start, it matters where you end up, and you can find unconventional ways. And young people need to understand the power of that model in how we talk about shifting the paradigm.
No, that's great. I just want to just shift a little bit. I think the answer is the word pathway. And so you're giving an example of someone who had multiple pathways that were open, and they found one and took these different ways. And I think the challenge we have is we have to help our parents and our educators understand that these pathways can lead towards viable life opportunities. And that's where the shift is. I think our parents all believe, go to college, it'll all work out. When we did our national research on the personalized career and academic plans, we had 2 groups of students, those who had a plan and those who were going to college. And so this idea that somehow I'm going to wake up in college with an answer of who I am and where I'm going, you said, Mark, without that light at the end of the tunnel guiding you, they're lost. And that's why only 1/3 of the entering 9th graders graduate from post-secondary, because they have no light at the end of the tunnel. But I think the answer is pathway and helping parents understand these pathways lead to very viable future opportunities. And I think this is the culture shift. We have to get in and really start thinking about it.
And Scott, if I could just tag on a little bit, because I love what you added there. But the key to the systemic change in the paradigm is that we have to recognize and tell a powerful story, region by region, community by community, that we have to connect the dots officially between education, workforce development, and economic development, which means we've got to have our community, we've got to have our economic development folks and our Chamber of Commerce, our business and industry partnerships, our educational partners. Everyone's got to come to the same table so that we understand as community by community how we shift this and the importance of the things we're chatting about here. And that is where systemic change will come from. But it has to be, we have to start shifting it so that, you know, not only our school counselors and our teachers and you know, and our administrators, but people outside, parents, students themselves, and they see that light at the end of the tunnel, so they're willing to take that step. And then that next.
So Mark, fabulous commercial for the Coalition for Career Development Center, because that is exactly part of our research agenda. We do have a lot of those regionally based collaborations and cross-sector alliances going on, and we need to tell the story about what's going on around places like Gateway College, where you've got a huge force of interconnected stuff going on. So they are out there now. We need to raise them up, showcase them, showcase the big work going on, and tell the stories like you had about students that are doing great things as they go through. We have a few more minutes left for some other. Is there some other questions that people would like to have answered? I hope, Karen, we did a good job responding to your question. I'm almost ready to bring you off mute to be able to add anything more to make sure we've got it. But if there's some other comments, it would be great.
Well, Scott, what I was going to add, this is
Yeah.
Ron, to building off Mark, is that, you know, from the Coalition of Career, our team here is, that, you know, right now today is spending time with those counselors. There's a lot of information that comes to them every day, and then they're in the classroom, and what they might hear on a session like this is great, but then they've got 100 emails no more and they get off of here to answer and all those things. So how do we consistently engage and provide information to them, welcome them to engage with us and take those phone calls, whether that's at the local level, state level, how, you know, as Damien was talking, how can we, you know, we got to have multiple on-ramps for our career counselors too, because once they get on those ramps and they go, oh, here's how you get to this, and the story that Mark told, once they get exposed to it, then they can help tell those stories to those parents, to those English teachers, those math teachers, and the students, you know, on a given day, or the local newspaper, all those things. And that's gonna take some heavy lifting here as we do all the great things we got to do, but we can't forget every day that we got to still spend time with them and reach out to them and make them part of our regional and local activities. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Roger. And I know we could tee off on that and go in another direction, but I also feel like we've been going at you for everybody for a while. Maybe, I know we've got 4 minutes before the next one, but maybe, Jan, we give everyone a break to, you know, do the bio breaks and get off a little bit before we get our next panel, but I'll let you take it over, Jan. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Thank you for everyone that's been on, for all the great chatter, resources. You're awesome. Really appreciate it. And thank you to the panel. This was really exciting.
There we go. Yes, thank you, Scott, and to the panel, to Damien, Roger, Jill, and Mark. It really was awesome, and that's why we asked you all. What I loved about this was it was about the students. It really focused on the students and not so much the system, even though we have to make systemic changes. How do we engage them? And I love, Mark, your comment, it doesn't matter where you start, it's where you end up. You know, it's the journey, and how do we help them along their journey, not a preconceived or our journey. And everything up to now, a lot of it's been about what does the system see as their journey.